All right, check it out, check it out. You're looking live at Bahamas courthouse where disgraced FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried could come out at any moment. He's facing the music finally for his alleged multi-billion-dollar fraud. The fallen crypto king arrested in the Bahamas and could be extradited to the U.S. Bankman-Fried indicted on 8 federal criminal charges that may put him behind bars for the rest of his life. They include wire fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy to violate campaign finance laws. And that is in addition to the civil complaint filed by the SEC. Prosecutors outlining their case accusing the former crypto CEO of trying to buy political influence with stolen money.
All of this dirty money was used in service of Bankman-Fried's desire to buy bipartisan influence and impact the direction of public policy in Washington. It's so hard to compare these things, but I think it's fair to say that by anyone's lights, this is one of the biggest financial frauds in American history.
Lawmakers were supposed to hear directly from the former billionaire today on Capitol Hill, but obviously that did not happen because he's there in the Bahamas. He just got busted hours before he was set to testify. Instead, Congress grilling FTX's new CEO about what happened.
The FTX group's collapse appears to stem from absolute concentration of control in the hands of a small group of grossly inexperienced and unsophisticated individuals. This is really old-fashioned and embezzlement.
I think everybody loved the exciting idea of a politically progressive, smart entrepreneur who is going to reimagine capitalism. I'm glad to see it's finally unraveled.
What you have is a crypto casino.
I'm so deeply troubled to learn how common it was for Bankman-Fried and FTX employees to steal from the cookie jar of customer funds to finance their lavish lifestyles.
Sam Bankman-Fried's downfall turning into a media circus. The former billionaire just wouldn't stop talking to press outlets and giving interviews. Just yesterday, he was predicting this.
Are you worried you might be detained if you stepped foot into the U.S.?
I don't believe I would be, but I haven't done a deep dive into that. At some point, that's something I have to think harder about.
All right, Judge, the criminal complaint came out after the SEC complaint, and now he's in a Bahamian court, and he didn't go to Congress. What say you?
Well, there's a lot of things. First of all, I've never seen the Southern District of New York act so quickly on a case this enormous in terms of the number of people who were defrauded. They say there are 1 million creditors. That is incredible. That is a huge fraud. And so you say to yourself, now, why would the Southern District, that takes months and months and months, especially in economic crimes, move so quickly? Well, you could argue that maybe they were worried about he might abscond, but at the same time, he was willing to testify. And as any prosecutor knows, if you're going to trial, what you want more than anything is prior statements of a defendant. And this individual has testified for weeks on end and made incriminating statements. None of those statements will be inadmissible. He swore to tell the truth. They are under oath. There is no Miranda required. There is no constitutional custody issue. Those statements are golden. So why stop him from testifying in front of Congress today? Because you don't want information to come out that's political. Look, he was the #1 donor to Democrat political causes. His mother apparently ran a major Democratic campaign fund. He wined and dined the political people trying to influence the regulators. And make no mistake, he gave to Republicans, too. But I think that this was an attempt to literally shut down the truth, because this is the one chance that the American people would have to hear from people in Congress saying, and who did you give money to, and what committee are they on, and what did you expect from them? And just one more thing. There were red flags all along. There's a guy by the name of Terry Duffy who said this thing right in the beginning was fraudulent. And he used money to invest for himself. He gave his girlfriend money, Alameda. Why is she not a co-defendant? Why? Maybe because they're trying to get her to testify. But you know what? I don't think they need her to testify. He gave money to her. That money is now gone. You explain what you did with that money. You've got 2 at the top. You don't need anyone else, as far as I'm concerned. But the profits were commingled with political contributions. They were buying out the Bahamas, the real estate. And, you know, the whole smell of it just stinks. And in the end, there'll be a conviction. He will spend his life in jail. Wow. Shame on him and his parents, who knew so much more.
Interesting, Jessica, about the parents. I noted this, that his parents said they are worried that his legal fees will wipe them out. But the kid, he's a man, but their child is the one who defrauded all these people and wiped them out.
Potentially, and there's this big mansion that he bought for them in the Bahamas that they say they don't know anything about, and he was probably taking them for a ride the same way he was doing to everybody else who was investing in this scheme, I guess is what we have to call it at this point. You can't even say it's a company. To the judge's point, the Southern District was very clear that this was an attempt to buy bipartisan influence. And if you want to blame someone about the fact that we don't know exactly which Republicans he gave to, we have two names, but the number of them, then let's talk about Citizens United and how it makes it a system in which you can give through dark money groups essentially unlimited money. And that's what happened there. Two things that I find really interesting. One, what role did the government play in this? They want to regulate the crypto world. Was he trying to buy influence to make sure that crypto would never be regulated? Second thing, we haven't seen someone, a financial crime committed of this level by a millennial, someone who's addicted to being online. He was even on Twitter Spaces yesterday, right? He's been giving interviews left, right, and center. It's a completely different landscape for this. Bernie Madoff, I'm sure if he wanted to talk to someone in the press, he would say, hey, meet me at a dark diner somewhere, right? And I'm going to talk to you about what's going on. This kid has just been plastering it everywhere. So it seems like it'll be a completely different dynamic in terms of the prosecution.
Jesse, what good is the federal government in terms of regulations if this can happen to people? And last time he appeared before Maxine Waters' committee, she appeared to blow him a kiss at the end of it.
She didn't appear to. She blew it.
I was giving her the benefit of the doubt.
No, well, Maxine, no
Waters
relation,
not related.
blew that kiss. That's why the Attorney General had to put out this fire, because this guy was on a rehab tour, and every time he opened his mouth, he was humiliating the Democrats. He was humiliating Bill Clinton, the IRS, Wall Street, the SEC. Everybody was in bed with this guy. And for a month and a half, he went out and talked more than Fauci and exposed the code. And the code is, I'm going to say whatever the left wants to hear, and I'm going to shovel money down their throat so they let me do what I want. You're not supposed to talk about the code. It's a silent code. It's called greenwashing, woke washing, whatever you call it, and that blows up the whole system. And it's kind of like bribery, and it's kind of like greasing politicians, but he put it out there way too graphically, so he had to go down. He stole money from people, and then he donated it to the Democrats. So Biden had to bust his second biggest mega donor. It was a pump and dump. He was pumping and dumping, but the Democrats pumped and dumped him. They legitimized him. He's got his company's name on arenas. He's up there with Bill and celebrities now. There's collateral damage. So he went down hard. You could see this fraud a mile away. Greg and I talk about this all the time, whether it's Avenatti, whether it's Smollett, whether it's this guy, whether it's Sammy Sticky Fingers, who's pinching bags at every airport in the nation. It's a big advertisement for a scam artist, and we see it, but you can't say it, because if you say it, you're a bigot. If you say it, you don't like these types of people, so you can't talk about it. And then the left, they don't want to hear it because they're getting rich off it, and they're getting, good press off of it. So whatever. Now he wants to get out of prison because they're not giving him a vegan diet.
Yeah.
Listen, that's not going to get your bail reduced. He's a flight risk already. You have to have colon cancer or something like that. Because you don't like the food, sorry, you're going to have to stay in jail with some Bahamian knuckleheads, whatever
Greg,
they're in for.
Just 2 weeks ago, he was in front of a big New York Times audience being interviewed, and the audience was laughing when Sam Bankman-Fried was making jokes about, oh, maybe I shouldn't, my lawyer said I shouldn't do this, and they thought it was so funny.
How quickly the tide has turned, Dana.
Yes, the red tide.
Yes, I just wish that wherever he is right now, give him some long pants. I've seen his knees more than I've seen my own. These big, meaty hooks. It's just like sitting there with shorts. I mean, he's slightly better dressed than John Fetterman, but I won't go that far. The timing is suspicious. Before he sings, he gets arrested. If he ends up dead in jail, we'll know one thing, that he definitely swindled Hillary Clinton.
Yep.
But you know, there are these red flags, but one of the red flags, I'm sorry, we got to talk about how people look.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can judge a book by its cover. You brought up Sam Brinton. Never should have got a job. I mean, this guy, look at him. He has the voice of a creepy wind-up doll. Have you ever listened to them? He looks like one of the forgotten Three Stooges. If he transitions, perhaps he could be on The View. He's it's just a lesson, and I'll reiterate what you said. It's a lesson for everyone. Think about the celebrities that sold this guy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, will they get sued? They should, because they pushed this.
Tom Brady.
They are.
Except for Tom Brady.
Because he's your best
Because he's an American hero. But anyway, it's a virtue signaling or compassionate investing is usually a cynical cover. And this is why my theory is that Republicans fall for this less than Democrats, because we can't sucker people that know economics into a bad deal. I won't even be tricked into a good deal. Like, I'm still not doing the 401k until I see some real results.
Your mattress must be really stuffed.
Well, that mattress, it's getting up there.
Yeah.
But
It's in gold.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, William Devane.
All right.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.